obviously, with Betty, if you've got any topics you want to tackle,
Okay.
it's because obviously it's our corner, right?
Okay.
All right. Let's know when you're starting. Okay, cool.
So all this stuff.
We're rolling. All right, guys. That's cool. Welcome to our corner. Let's not welcome to our corner.
Content over everything.
Well, you still fixing the camera? No, that's our corner. So it's about people of African descent. So we're talking about topics about Africa, Caribbean, black community in London, that kind of stuff. So you're more than welcome to join in us, whatever. More than welcome. Hey, welcome to our corner. All right, we're gonna have a nice, fruitful discussion today. All right. So today we're gonna talk about two topics. We're gonna talk about, does the black community, or certain segments of black community, suffer from delusions of grandeur? Yes or no? Maybe yes. And also we're going to maybe touch into black fashion, whatever that means, right? Yeah. So the starting topic is there a section of black community that you feel might suffer from a form of delusions of grandeur? Yeah? What does that even mean to you? Does that make any sense? No? Yes? No?
No, I mean...
Let me unpack, right? Yeah. So, as far as I'm aware, delusions of grandeur is like thinking something is greater than it actually is. Yeah? Now, the funny thing with black people is there's been a history of telling black people that they're not great, and then there was a history of fighting that with, no, we are great. Here's the great things that black people have done in our history, right? Like empires and so forth. Yeah. But could that narrative in this day and age, in some aspect, work against black people, right? Yeah. So, for example, let me tell you my kind of story. Sometimes I would say that when there's a problem, the perfect thing to do is stand up and go, you know what? I'm an alcoholic, and I've been an alcoholic for 5 years, and by admitting it, you can try and change it. I think some of our shortcomings is masked by delusions of grandeur. So if I say, I think black people need to come together to work on an economic plan, someone might say, what are you talking about? The richest man of all time was Mansa Musa. Black people are okay. I'm like, oh yeah, that is true. But today, in this part of London, or this part of Birmingham, not so much. Do you know what I mean, right? Here's the problem. So I was just unpacking, do black people suffer from a delusion of grandeur? Welcome, brother, right? So here's the context, and I'll just repeat again because it's quite an important one. Historically, black people were called stupid, inferior by some people, wrongfully, right? And the counter narrative was, that's wrong. We came from empires and the kings and queens, right? And I feel today, there's a hardship that black people go through collectively. And when you try to maybe fix that, the first thing they might say is, but we come from kings and queens. And this is my concept of a delusion of grandeur. And just to express a very big point, just like if you're an alcoholic, I recommend you sit in a circle and the first thing you say is, I'm an alcoholic. And by saying that reality, you can fix it. Yeah. I think there is some challenges black people go through, and I'd like to fix it, but I think a delusion of grandeur might stop us from doing this. Right. And that's my example. You know what I'm saying? So, have you guys ever seen black people suffer from a delusion of being too great or greater than everyone else and not actually tackling the issue that we struggle on most? I don't know. Have you seen this?
It might be unrelated, but I've seen it on a medical, on a medical level.
Okay.
I have a friend who is bipolar,
right,
and has bipolar episodes.
Yes.
And occasionally he believes he's Jesus Christ. So you'll see him going about telling people he's the Messiah and he's got 12 disciples and that sort of thing. That was my first exposure to this term or phraseology of delusions of grandeur. Now, saying that it's medical, you did mention that a lot of black people, because of the suffering that they've gone through, they go from one polar side of being downtrodden, told that they're nothing, and then they go all the way to the other side of rulable kings and queens. Yeah. Now, that might maybe trying to extrapolate that. The causes might be similar. Yeah. So people are going through, I don't know, pain and hurt, and their defense mechanism is to withdraw into this bubble of we were kings and queens, and going back to say, oh, you know, like we were from Kemet, and you know that everything was great and everything was cushy, and it kind of, it's a bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble.
It's a protective bubble that doesn't address the actual root causes of what we're actually going through and how to fix it.
But let's just establish collectively, are black people doing great? So let's use London, yeah, because we're here now, Speaker's Corner. Are black people collectively doing okay according to you guys?
No.
No.
No, they're at the bottom economically worldwide.
Okay, and worldwide, yeah.
Yeah.
So why is it that when we speak to some people, they either don't recognise this or they might have a counter narrative as in, no, we're doing fantastic work? What is going on?
Well, again, some people may just be delusional. Like they may not want to acknowledge the fact that they're not doing great. Otherwise, there's like I don't know, that there's a lot of pain to work through until you get to the other side of being good.
Right.
You know, like if you, like for me personally, sometimes I've thought about like the amount of like killing and famine and just evil things in the world.
Yeah.
And I've got to the point where I think to myself, if I keep dwelling on this stuff, I might actually go crazy.
Yeah.
And so I have to try and compartmentalize stuff and, you know, maybe put things to the back of my mind and put other things in front to sort of allow me to keep going. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing in the black community.
Do you feel?
Go ahead. Can I say that in terms of like black people are doing the worst worldwide, you know?
Yeah.
You have the decade of people of African descent from 2015 to 2024 due to the systematic racism that they face. So yeah, we are doing, you know, bad worldwide, but I feel like it's more of like it's almost like a middle class, upper class. You know, you have the class system in the black communities, and if they acknowledge that we're not doing good, you know, it reflects on our ruling classes that rule our black communities, whatever country that we may be. It exposes how they're ruling, you know, the populace, and they don't want to be exposed to how they're, you know, not doing collectively good for all of us. You know, that they're getting, you know, the lion's share.
Right. So it's not split equally.
Yeah.
So you're saying there is a class of black individuals doing really well, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
A community, I would say so.
yeah. Oh, so you say there's a
Where are they based?
There's a middle class community.
we join.
And in the UK of black people.
I would like to see them. So
Are they big? Because
I wouldn't say they're big, but it is a community.
I would love to see, even if there is a black isolated elite community that work amongst themselves and do really well economically, emotionally, and the rest of it, right? I would love to see this because I would just like to make a documentary about it, just for self-esteem reasons, right?
But when I say community, I wouldn't say it in its most like compound understanding of the word of community.
Right.
It's more looser than that. I remember reading this book at uni. In his book, literally, there's statistics about the African Caribbean community in England.
Right.
And it shows you graphs from the first influx of migrants of the Caribbean in the 50s, and then it shows you the progression. And like everyone was saying, collectively, it's very bad. And they were comparing it to Asians. The Asians were actually doing better than us when it comes to housing and property only and business. So these are real things that do happen. So I would agree. So I would say a community as such as we understand it when you go to Brixton, but there is like a professional class or professional group of people who are
Well, their community. You talk about they're doing well individually, because I know quite a few middle class Nigerians that are doctors, barristers, and things, but they're not community.
Yes.
They're not community
Very loosely,
because majority of us Nigerians are working class.
Yeah. And I would say that I can never complain about the individual strength of black people. I think black people, some of the most highest individual strengths I've ever seen. Like, we've got billionaires and they lead in a particular field, so they might be the most popular singer of all time, the most popular football player of all time, the most popular basketball player of all time, right? But when it comes to collective building, we're the most inferior from what I'm seeing.
in America, there is, for example, in America, there's like a documentary about this actually.
Right.
the 1% community, and then the twist with the documentary was they're all black.
Right. Okay.
Right? So there's actually in America, maybe not in the UK so much.
There's definitely a middle class society in America of blacks. But I was wondering what sort of cohesion they have, like the upper middle class with the working class black populace in America.
I think they're quite isolated from what I've seen.
I mean, I do kind of get the vibe that where the delusions of grandeur of the working class might be to flee towards the we were kings type thing. I am sort of worried that maybe the middle class, a lot of the middle class black Americans might be going the other way, and maybe, I don't know, turning their backs on the black community and the struggle.
There has always been a history of in that kind of that kind of elite class of turn your back on anything that's, say, African, right? So that's why you would have the light skin kind of elites, and then you would have the rich elites, and they would become synonymous. So you might find that all the rich people were light skinned and richer, but also in mannerisms and styling were close to European. And then by distancing yourself from Africanness was like a benchmark of your success.
Right. What about, for example, I don't know many people know about this, but C.G. Walker, she's a woman. She was the first millionaire. Yeah, woman, point period, of any race in America. And she did that by being involved with the community, because she was she had products.
She had some,
particularly for black women. Black
that
women.
showed that moves to the economics thing, but that shows you the power of the black spending, especially the black woman spending.
Yeah.
And she did really well. I think her daughter lost all her fortune, but she amounted a lot. And you're right. Yeah.
So there is, and there's many examples like that in America actually as well. With there's plenty of, throughout American history, you find there has been communities of middle class African Americans who have been the famous one is Black Wall Street.
Yes.
That was being bombarded in things. So historically speaking, and in recent history, we do have these pockets and these formations. But going back to the question, the overall question, which is, I find it's very, very important to us, which is perception, because that's really what we're talking about here, right? And I had this question, and I haven't found the answer. I was you see, mental bondage, when you're mentally enslaved still, how do you break that? How do you break out of that? Because that's if anything, that's what we're experiencing right now, isn't it?
You have to change the pillars of your mind. So
physically, we are not really in bondage as such.
Yeah, but we are in mental bondage, right? As in, we're still trapped by the ideas that was forced upon us. Yeah, and I think you need to have a place to go where you can actually completely try to release those chains, right? You have to have community work. You have to be surrounded by people like yourselves who give you a different narrative. It's like I keep bringing it up, but there's a reason why people start going crazy over Black Panther. Yeah, just the visual element. Yeah, but then there's the whole concept of if you had a son, a daughter, would they write that same narrative? Would they write from a perspective of a Black or African narrative? If not, then you could argue that already they have other cultures that have heavily imprinted their ideas on them. So their default is to think of other people. So as a people, if you look up like Danjuma was saying, we look at a lot of the Latin community in Dominican Republic, they did not like the concept of being black historically, right?
And still kind of don't.
To be fair, right? And so they will identify as Spanish or Spanish speaking rather than African, right? So these are the problems we face.
Yeah.
But I think how it ties into delusions of grandeur could be that I guess some people just don't want to actually face where we actually are, like you're saying, mental slavery, and they'll find some. So for example, if we talk about a collective where we're not in a good state, they might say, oh, but Michael Jordan is the most richest basketball. Michael Jackson bought Sony, whatever it might be, right? And what I'm saying is, if these people are not connected to a community and their wealth doesn't come back, or we're not learning from them, then it's good for them symbolically, but as a collective, it's not going to do anyone any good.
Which is why you will never ever find me with a pair of Jordans ever.
Yeah, well.
And that's why that could be a critique then against this, because those people then, when they get to these positions, they're saying, well, I'm a symbolic representation, anyone can make it, whether you're black or not. That's the message then that they spread, and that a dysfunctional message in a sense, because they're not really putting their mouth as well. Where the money where the mouth is.
But is it
their responsibility?
What?
I think
to give money back to that community.
Any other community thinks so.
Wait,
why don't we think like that?
Even if you were to say he doesn't owe money, nobody owes anybody else money.
Yeah.
If you worked for it, it's yours.
Yes.
Yeah. But we're talking about supporting the community. Yeah. At least give back initiatives, inspire, because you came up on the backs of this community. But that community ferried you to the place you are.
But shouldn't the support start from the home?
And how do you think people like Jordan got to where they got? Did they do it off the sweat of their own backs?
No, because he had a strong mother and a strong father.
Right, okay. That strong mother and strong father, did they not come up in the community?
Yeah,
Are they not a product of the community?
Well, yeah.
Right, so that's what we're saying, give back to the community. It's
You're right, bro. So you're right. If you brothers earn your money, that's your money. And shame on us for saying, you're black, give black people your money. Because that's not going to go nowhere, right? Yeah. What we're saying is, if you get to a certain point...
I find it so strange that you say that.
What they said?
That you say, well, if it's your money, da-da-da. When every nation does that.
You're right.
The Chinese do it, they don't even think about it.
You're highlighting our
but that's more of that's a culture. That's a cultural thing.
No, but
it's an African thing as well.
It's
a culturally black thing.
No.
Yeah.
What
to
happened
help
to a village is raised by...
There's no such thing as black culture.
I think we have to change this.
I agree.
There are different cultures within the black African people.
Caribbean.
I don't know of any of those cultures,
I'm
where people do not chip in and help each other.
No, I do not. I 100% agree.
Right. So when I'm saying black culture, I'm saying
but if an individual decides, you know what, it's my money, I can do what I want. It should be his right to do so. I'm not agreeing with or disagreeing. I'm just saying, shouldn't it be his right?
No one's honing in on the money. Personally, I don't believe giving people money helps them anyway.
I agree with you, brother.
Teaching people skills, giving them inspiration and motivation, and giving them ideas which they can sustain themselves with. That is the best, and that can be done for free. So for me, I don't understand that if you can give something free and you're holding on to it, it just speaks levels of what sort of person you are. Right, and if that's the case, if you're going to do that, then I'm not going to feed into the pool of wealth that you already have, because it's not going to benefit me or mine.
But we'll jump to what you're saying in a minute. But you said that you believe that it should be a principle that we have, giving, and you said that no, it should not be a principle.
I'm not saying no, it shouldn't be. I think you should give back to your community. But if an individual decides that they don't want to do that, shouldn't it be their right?
Watch this. If a rich person from the black community doesn't want to give back to the community, what does the black community do to them? Nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
It's not saying that they're going to go to jail, but we're talking about, we're saying like, other communities have shown that they're more connected to their communities when they prosper.
But like this brother said, we also have to define giving back to the community. What does that even mean?
So you have to be dedicated. Well, I'm recommending that we become dedicated to see things grow, to have sustainable industries that breed other industries, right?
Yeah.
Because if one man has 1 million gold nuggets, whatever, and he keeps himself, well, that's to himself, isn't it? No one else.
Let me give you an example, an historical example.
Okay, go on.
There was a very affluent community in Atlanta that was destroyed via riots. And this was in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
That community, the circulation of money was 1 year. So what I'm saying here is that people would spend money in the community for a year until they left the community.
A year.
A year, an entire year. So I would give you £1, you give £1 to my cousin, he gives £1 to his. That's what we're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the support that we want.
I 100% agree with you.
And as I don't know. I work in the creative industry, and one thing that you understand in the creative industry is it's all based upon nepotism, which means you get a job based upon who you know and who you connected to.
Yeah.
I am connected to the entire African family, so that's what I'm trying to say. That's the concept. Everyone has these principles. If you're the son of that film director, you be sure that you will be.
I 100% agree. But isn't that a problem with our culture? The fact that a lot of black people do not have a strong culture.
We had it with the.
I don't believe that.
No.
What's your fancy culture?
First off, what black people are you talking about?
I'm talking about black Americans, black people in this country. We're so quick to throw away our culture. How many times have you heard a so-called black man say, "Oh, I'm not black, I'm British," or I'm more British. I'm not. I don't. A lot of these guys do not know where they come from. A lot of them do not know.
You're saying how often have I heard people saying?
Yeah, how
that
often?
As in they do it quite often.
I've seen a lot of people.
Does that come from the sense that there's no black community? That, you know, being black doesn't bind us together in the sense that what binds us together is being people of African descent.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
When you talk about blackness, there are many people around the world that are black.
Yeah, I know.
And they're not all of African descent.
But the thing is, that's why I don't like to identify as black because there's no country called black. There's no language called black.
Which is why I specifically asked you which people, so you could demonstrate. So you said black Americans first, and you said black British. Now.
But we're talking about people of African descent. So if when Raven's talking in context, we're talking about the people of African descent, i.e., and it normally means black Africans, people of black African descent. Yeah. So we don't have a sense of oneness because we've just gone through colonization and slavery, and we're trying to rebuild it. So when you just meet another black person, if I meet someone from Ghana and they meet someone and I'm from Nigeria, us being African is not enough. Us being black is not enough.
But the thing is, it feels like only black people have this idea that we're all the same. I don't agree with that.
That's the thing. I think that's what's the word? I think that's a bit of a fallacy in the story. There's no one here saying that black people and Africans are all the same. We acknowledge that we have different cultures, different languages, right? But what we're saying is outside in the diaspora, we are all privy to the same experiences away from the motherland. When you might be of Caribbean culture, yeah, sorry.
I'm actually native Nigerian.
That's fine. Okay, so I'm Ghanaian, you're Nigerian. What tribe are you from?
Yoruba.
All right. So Yoruba will have the Yoruba tribe will have its spiritual systems. Yeah. Our tribe will have its spiritual systems. There'll be differences and there'll be similarities, right? Yeah. But we still respect that. I'm not asking you to assimilate and become Ashanti. Yeah. And similarly, you're not asking me to assimilate and become Yoruba. But we know, that if we both walk into one of these work establishments, it's highly likely we will be racially profiled in the same way. Or if we're in the streets.
White people don't care about the little differences of people of Africa. They don't care. You're all black. Yeah. That's one of the things. That's what he's saying. They don't care. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you're not Yoruba. It doesn't mean that you're not Ashanti. But they don't care. Because when they look at you, they can't tell the difference. Looking at you, I can't tell that you're Yoruba. I can't tell that you're. I don't know if you're Ashanti. But
that's fine. Then shouldn't it be an incentive for us to come on our own, to build our own community, to build our own businesses? Because at the end of the day, you look at the Indian man. He comes to this country. He has his own shop. He has his own family that start working there. That's culture. Yeah. That's culture.
But you've indirectly just affirmed what we're actually trying to say. Yeah. These people help their cultures and build their people up.
Yeah, I've never disagreed with that.
Yeah. So could we tie in? So where's the delusions of grandeur? Could what you say be tied into that in the sense of we're talking about a black collective, And if you come and you say, oh yes, but I'm from this, could that not be the grandeur then? Like, I don't recognize this black thing, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm this, whatever. Could that then be the grandeur that you're you know what I mean? I don't recognize this black thing, you know what I'm saying? And the Yoruba is, and we are Yoruba is amazing, and so is Igbo and so forth. But what I'm saying is, if like the brother was saying, like, regardless of where you're from, we understand there's an experience, and like, if we're isolated, we will always be where we are, which is we've identified at the bottom. We might be wrong, but so far the evidence say at the bottom collectively, right? Yeah. So when we come together, the narrative is like, forget this black thing. It's a word. It doesn't exist. What is it? If we talk that way, then that means we go back to the bottom. It's like, you're right. Well, I'm Yoruba. You're from Congo. Yeah, I'll do my thing. You do your thing. You most certainly can.
Is there racism within the black community?
There's prejudice within the black
Africans
community.
against West Indians, possibly.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, Africans against West Indians is not racism.
We said prejudice. No, we said prejudice. Yeah.
The same race.
Same race.
You know, that's prejudice.
There is.
No, you can't. But
the
whole point
it's
of
the words we're
racism
saying. The words.
is different races. A Caribbean person who's black is not a different race from me.
Is there any
It's a different
anxiety
ethnic
from
group.
Africans?
Did you acknowledge that point?
Yeah,
Did you acknowledge the point?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, he wasn't listening to that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
What does race mean? White, black, brown. They're the same race.
What is the definition of racism anyway? What is the definition of racism in your eyes?
Well, I actually don't agree with it.
You don't agree with it?
Oh, racism, no.
No, I mean, but what's your definition of racism?
Racism's like, oh, there's a dog there. That's a dog. A human species is a human species. It's just ethnicity is the actual difference. So,
yeah, okay.
Exactly, right?
You got us with your semantics. Yeah,
Not
there's
semantics,
no
not semantics.
Bro, when you go into what is the dictionary? What's the dictionary? What's the dictionary definition of racism? I'm not with all this. Oh, there's only one human race.
Different races.
We know that when we talk about races, there's an understanding. So I don't understand
you believe in different races of people.
Dude, when we talk about races, yeah, we know that the term. If I'm saying I'm from one race, that person's from another race, it's synonymous with ethnicity. It's understood. So the whole like the sarcasm and the pedantics is not really needed here. It's not needed.
I'll jump in. Brother, we're going to say people groups. So the black people is an identifiable people group. And because of that identification, there's a certain experience. Now, this is trying to deal on that people group. So maybe there is only one race, whether it is or not, it won't change the experience that people group have gone through.
Correct.
So once again, this delusion of grandeur could actually go there as well, this one race delusion of grandeur. Yeah. So it's a good topic and it seems to be manifesting through the conversation.
Can I ask a question?
Go on, brother.
You see, and also to you, yeah, because you mentioned, you've described it very beautifully about how they don't see any differences. A black person is a black person. Do you guys think that's a weakness to us? Does it weaken us as a community that they don't see the differences?
But why should somebody else's opinion weaken you?
I think it does weaken us.
I mean, look at the Muslims nowadays.
Well, if you're mentally fragile, then isn't that the issue in itself? No,
that the so-called black man is mentally fragile.
Is it not? Yeah. Sorry.
But historically speaking, you wouldn't deny that thoughts, ideas, ideologies, concepts have weakened certain people. Or would you deny that? I mean, look what happened to the Jewish people in Germany, right? It was based upon concepts. Yeah. These are the Jews. They are different than us. It's concepts. It's really, in reality, it's not real.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that thought from that perspective. Do you think it weakens us as a community that they see us all the same? And if they do, is that not for us a strength? Because then we can like flip it.
Yeah, I agree with that concept, right? So if you're saying that, if we are seen as the same,
all black people as the same. Well, I don't see it that way. I don't know who is.
Yeah, you're different. You're smart and educated, but generally speaking,
is there a strength? Well, so if we are identified as the same people, then we can use that in the sense of work together. I guess that's what we're kind of doing now to an extent, right? Yeah. But the thing is, I'm still talking about experience, right? Yeah. And being identified as black means that we've gone through an experience. Yeah. Some of it different, but some of it very similar. Yeah. And it's because of that, it's why it's a necessity to build on those principles. Yeah, this is how I see it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want to ever get sidetracked by semantics and and emotional kind of stuff. Yeah. And this is only what happens when we talk about this kind of stuff. People jump in, but there's only one race. It doesn't matter. Regardless if there's 1,000 races, one race or alien race, the people who've been identified as black have been through an experience. And that experience defines why we're here today having this conversation. Yeah? And remember, we have to have tangible goals. Yeah? It has to be something we want tangible. Talking intellectually isn't tangible, right? Actually having actions and plans are tangible, right? So the plan is, how can we better ourselves with the information we have? And yeah, you're right. What we are saying is, if you are black, and you want black people to progress, you will actively look for another black person to network with. You know what I'm saying? Because in this system, if you just close your eyes and open it, you're not going to necessarily be around a black person in the area of activity.
Individual groups. So over there, the Yoruba already have an individual group. Yeah. A lot of Nigerian ethnic groups already have their own individual groups where they're working collectively to build up their own community. So collectivizing with other people from it's irrelevant because you already have that. Yeah. You have to just seek that out. I'm a Bibio. I could go to the Bibio meeting to uplift my people, but the fact of the matter is, I have to collectivize with other black people because white people define us as all the same. They don't care about the difference. You know what I mean? So, you have that choice. You collectivizing with other black people doesn't stop you from working in your own ethnic group. Yeah. Because the Yoruba are a massive ethnic group that stretch all the way to Benin. Republic. So, you just have to pick that out. But you still need the wider community. Because when they see you, they don't see Yoruba. Most of them don't even recognise what Yoruba is. It's not like white people can tell what is German, what is French, but they can't even tell the difference in Nigerian.
But the problem is, why does that matter? I look at
because
they're in the places where they have power and influence, and we happen to be in a place of subjection at the moment. Now, I don't look.
You don't make the rules of engagement. White Europeans dominate the planet right now collectively. Yeah. Until you don't make the rules, you're subject to the rules.
But I look at different cultures, different minority cultures. I look at the East Asian. I look at the South Asian. I even look at, like you said, the Yoruba people. Like for me, if I need a videographer, I have an auntie that knows a videographer that can help me do a video, and that's the thing. A lot of black people don't have. They don't have that strong culture.
Yeah, but then you see someone from Punjab, right? Yeah. Someone from Punjab would easily work someone from Karachi. Even though they're different tribes and they're different, but they still have something still binding and they understand they're Asians.
I was going to say that India is a country that has multiple tribes and ethnicities in it.
Absolutely.
You have Punjabis, you have Gujaratis, you have even some of these Indians that look they look Chinesey, even Mongol. Yeah. You have the Siddhis, which are black Asian peoples as well. The fact of the matter is, like Dan Juma said, they all collectively acknowledge their differences, but they acknowledge that there's strength in unity as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. They share one landmass, and it's to their benefit for them to coexist.
Isn't that the issue? We do not come together as a community because a community and a culture has political power as well.
Are you telling me the Yoruba in England don't have culture? Or that the Nigerian kids that are born here in this country, are you telling me they have a weak sense of culture?
I'm not saying that.
Right. So what is the weakness in the culture?
No. I think many kids are kind of ashamed of who they are. So
and is that because their parents have ingrained in them that you should be ashamed? Or is it because the environment doesn't nurture or acknowledge or even praise the fact that they're from another ethnicity? Coming up in school, a lot of kids of African descent even went as far to call themselves Caribbean, because they felt that being Caribbean was a more acceptable form of being black.
I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Because the kids they produce such an environment there that the kids felt ashamed of the culture that they were being brought up with at home. So I'm saying.
So it's not just, it's not the kids, it's the wider society, because how's Africa described on, you know, African beach shows, you know, Ethiopia, you know, it wasn't just kids, it was the wider society. If you said you were African, you know, white people let you know that you're, you know, Africa's just full of famine, warlords and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we're older now, so we're able to deal with it as well, though. But I think as young kids and being impressionable and moldable as well, at that time, you being told that your background is rubbish, and kids can be mean as well. It does have a lasting impact.
So that's a tie in. So you're identifying that certain people, maybe of African descent, they would have delusions of grandeur, or a false delusion of grandeur, in the sense of they'll try to be from their neighbours, the Caribbean, because they felt ashamed of their own culture, right?
It was just cooler to be a Caribbean.
Yeah, but see, this is
that too.
This is why we have to have the community building stuff, because Africa's the base. So if we undermine that, we undermine everything, right? Yeah. And this is like the basics that we don't seem to get.
But it has changed a lot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
With Afrobeats
being
number one. Right, it has changed now. No, people don't mind being Nigerian.
I don't know. I don't think the role helped. It's changed, but it's still there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would agree.
You have the role. Look at how Africa's still presented.
Yeah.
You know.
But this is all connected to what we're saying. Who is going to change that narrative? We are, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but we're not going to do it if we are divided. If we're always trying to find reasons to not actually be dedicated to better.
Yeah.
It has to. That's what I'm saying. Most things that change, there's a philosophy behind it, right? There's something that drives it.
Yeah.
If you just wake up in the morning, Africa will be the same as it was in the morning.
Yeah.
You have to actually want to change it. It starts from you individually where you find yourself. So if you find yourself here in London and you come to Speaker's Corner, I would say it's necessary to build with other black brothers and sisters on how to find better.
Yeah.
You just said that you have an auntie, hypothetically, who does, say, a camera. And you're going, yeah, well, we've got that on lock. Well, then this brother, his community from Congo might not have that kind of technology, because you've got Nollywood, he hasn't got the kind of thing, yeah? So you think, okay,
biggest.
There you go. So then what you would do, you would then support and send your camera crew to the Congo man then. But this man, he's got fashion on lock, send it to the you know what I mean? Yeah. But it should be a first look kind of basis, like, okay, I want to do something, who I look for, let me take out my black book, boom. Can't find there. Okay, we go.
But I think the issue is I don't think a lot of black people don't think like that.
That's the problem.
Because I think a lot of black people have this globalist mentality where it's all coming together and singing Kumbaya, one race, all this nonsense.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Is there anything wrong with that? That perception that we could be a one Africa?
No. I'm talking.
He's saying that. So he's saying that. I'm sure. Don't let me talk for you, but I think what you're saying is when there's rather than come together with other African Caribbean people, whatever it might be, it's like, well, let's include everyone. You know what I mean?
And for me, when I hear that, it just seems like black people just want a hug from everybody.
Why is that though? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Because this might tie into the delusions of grandeur in seeking something, right? Yeah. So,
doesn't that tie back to culture then?
I wouldn't say it ties.
What sense? In what sense, bro?
Whose culture does it tie back to? Is it tie back to black people's culture?
The fact that they feel they don't have a strong culture, so they have to latch onto other people's.
Like Sister Bear was saying, that if something's been demonized so much, so you could actually come from, say, Yoruba, right?
Yeah.
And a very prominent tribe, and you could be even like a chief or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And then you come, you're full of pride, you love it. You come to England now on a plane, you go to English school, and all of a sudden they're just tearing you down.
Yeah.
Okay, and after a couple of days of that, you're from Jamaica. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So this is the thing, like, what are we doing to sustain that pride? What are we doing? And we have to speak it into existence. You know, we have to speak it into existence. We have to say,
as well as
exactly.
Time together
You see, to that concept of like this delusional concept, of delusional grandeur. Because I think I've talked to Issa a lot about this stuff, which is, I have the feeling sometimes, I'm just gonna have to be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest, bro.
Don't kill me.
Let it out.
Let it out, man.
Africans, everyone, I love you. Everyone, right? Trust me, I do love you. But
I'm gonna make a video about you.
But the issue I have what I find is that you know, when it comes to issues that we're facing in our community, and it's a modern concept anyway, it's a modern phenomenon, like other people do it too. We tend to always, like, the first thing we want to do is blame other people. And I do understand there are external factors that influence us and what happens to us in the historical, like, you know, events that led us to be the way we are, that has shaped us as well. But not only. For example, let me give you an example, okay? I've watched like a couple of these like shows on Channel 4 and whatever, and they would have like debates about knife crime. Right. And one thing, and it's a very dominant thought amongst the black community, from what I've seen so far, is that, well, the government cuts have led to the closures of youth centers. And the first people who were saying it were the politicians. It was not the black community. It's the politicians who start saying this stuff from the left, or from the right, depending on who's in power, just to score points. And we have to be careful sometimes that we don't just repeat something because we've heard it, some of the officials saying it. Now, I've read an article yesterday about a case in South London where a 22-year-old guy was stabbed in a youth club. Okay, so if the issue is that we don't have enough youth clubs, then if we have more youth clubs, does that mean that we're going to have more deaths in youth clubs? Because I think there was a point in time, where we needed more youth clubs, but I think we've passed that time now. So there's something else maybe that we have to start looking at, and you know, from an Islamic perspective also, right? Just to bring that in, I don't want to preach religion here, but one thing that, like, the religion teaches us a lot is the reflection upon yourself. Constantly to reflect upon yourself and your actions. You know, if you're someone who's only concerned about what other people are doing, whether what they're doing to you or what they're doing to themselves, you are missing out at the diseases that you might have in your own heart. And I feel like black people, the power of independence, the power of doing things yourself. I've read biographies of like successful people, and I've read many of them. And there's this one component always, which is independence. Doing things your own way. And if you look in history, like I was mentioning earlier, in those communities in America, and there were self-sufficient communities. The hand that gives is better than the hand that asks.
So, may I just unpack what you're saying? If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong. Are you saying that one of the challenges we might face is, yes, black people have had many hardships pushed upon them, but to just dwell on that might then mean that we're not actually moving forward. And the energy we spent building is spent complaining and just feeling sorry for ourselves.
I feel like I
think there's a level of that.
I think there's people who should complain, just because of the level. Because remember, this is like a process. People get into this thinking, right? So there's certain people who don't even think like this. So when they come into, when they become more conscious about these things, of course, the first thing they're going to do is going to be complaining about issues. So I say, okay, you know what? As a community, not everyone can be the same. If there are people who are complaining or people who are sorrowful about it, let them be sorrowful. But there has to be a group of us now who are actually now starting to do things.
Shall we try to give them like a guide to pain? And what I try to do is like, you know, you might be a person who studied black history, and when you study black history, there might be some pain there. You might see the news and there might be some pain there. And the question is, once we have that pain, how do we turn it into power, right? So I say it's like this. I've just realized that black people have been mistreated by so many people for 400, 500 years. Rather than complain, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be dedicated to looking at black people to find solutions. What does that mean? That means, you know, I'm going to try to actively sign another brother to train them on the skill I have. Or if I want a plumber, I'm going to actually try to find a black plumber, right? I'm going to tell this concept to my son, my wife, my nephew, that, you know what, you have to actively look at black people to find better ones. Yeah? And every time you turn on the TV and you see negativity, you're going to turn that into a method of positivity, as in looking at other black people to train and be around and just for some form of better, right? But you're going to turn to a philosophy. It has to be spoken, because if you don't speak it, what's going to happen is all the work we're going to do now, we're going to come together, we're going to do it, we're going to start getting out here, and then what's going to happen is people are going to segregate and move out and go to other communities and build those communities, and they won't come back. You see, that's like you have all these powerful individuals who make so much income, but when they get married or they go out there or they get a job, what it might be, at no point in their progression will they think, what can I do to benefit the community I come from? So if we have to speak it, so that's the first stage. Let's speak it, right? Now I've given it a word. I put Black Birmingham Building. right? And that's very black people helping black people on black issues whenever it's constructively possible. If we speak this, then hopefully you will see a change. That's how I'm seeing it. Do you know what I mean? And that might be the answer to every time you see pain, you practice black man building. Every time I see knife crime, I practice black man building. When I turn on the TV and I see all the black people who are now being portrayed as non-black people, I practice black man building. Why? Because when you practice black man building and you have your son writes a book. The book then isn't going to be based upon European or Chinese history. It's going to be based upon African history. And what happens? This brother's son or daughter, he owns a movie studio. So what happens? They meet up. They turn that book into a movie. Your nephew, your uncle, your auntie, they're actors. They can now act in the book and the play about the book that your niece did, whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? By being consistently black building in every area activity, you're going to see a spillage. You're going to see it come and it's going to manifest or will manifest into something that we can actually tangibly bite. Do you know what I mean?
That's the next step. You
know what I mean? Yeah?
That's what's
but once again, the secret ingredients we must talk about. It must be something that we practice, and that is black man building, right? Trying to help black people whenever it's constructively possible. If we do that, we won't have these week-to-week sessions about complaining about, oh, woe is me, knife crime, all kind of stuff, because we'll be actively doing the solution and the tangible, right? That's how I would say it. So that's the delusion of grandeur.
And I feel like most at Mount Millennium are going a good way as well to address that as well. If anyone wants to, I don't know how they.
Well, if black and you want to join any network, just give me an email at ourcorner2018 @gmail.com and we'll chop it up, right? But I always have to use this to push something, just so people have missed it. I'm starting a concept that's called co-unity spend. And what I need is black people who have businesses that they sell products. So it could be fruit, soap, powder, whatever it might be, you sell products. And the goal is to every month get a legion of black people to shop there and to actually go there with your phones and actually make an event of it. We talk to the shop owner to see their story, because hopefully their story of how they overcame and become shopkeepers or business owners will motivate the youth for something they can do. And we're going to let them know that if a black person has a business, especially in London, yeah, we're going to support it. Now, the concept is in Bristol, Birmingham, Manchester, we all act as a community do these co-unity spends. I mean, every month we dedicate days where we dedicate to find black places and we shop there systematically. So, I mean, one of the greatest outcomes is as an auntie or uncle who has like a food store or whatever, and we go there and with 200, 300 people, we can buy out. Why is this easy? Because we're so underrepresented in actual having businesses. That means we have more spenders than actual business owners, right? Yeah. So that means we actually have the power to actually shop them out of business in a good way. Meaning, on Sunday they have no products. They have none. Because we have so much, we can do that. If we culturally do that, and we put these in the newspapers, we put these on the blogs and so forth, we're training our youth to shop black, to support our businesses, naturally. So this ties into how we're going to achieve that. This is this one concept, but we need the community help. And that's you can give me an email on your business. Once again, ourcorner2018 @gmail.com.
Does the idea of a unified Africa feed into the concept of delusions of grandeur?
Well, as in like that itself is a delusion of grandeur, right? So I would say.
I'd say no, but that's my opinion.
I would say if you're whimsical in your speaking, and if you're like, oh yeah, Africa's going to be great, wonderful, I'm African, kings and queens, and then I stay at home and I buy stuff from other communities, and I do not buy stuff from my community, I do not teach my children about African stuff, and I do not try to reach out, then it is delusion of grandeur, right? But if we actually practice it, then it's a reality. It's not a delusion. Do you know what I mean?
But I'd say no. I personally wouldn't want a unified a unified Africa.
Why?
Personally,
I was onto something when I jumped in.
Listen, if Africa be one country, like blood, and any Africans, like maybe Arab Africans or something like that, wouldn't face no problem again. You get me?
No. All right, let's go into that, because you mentioned. If Africa was one continent,
one continent,
black Africans and other non-black Africans, that it would be a strong.
Because actually, not only like black people who are facing racism nowadays.
I like the idea.
It's like Africans in general.
Where are you from?
I'm North African, basically, Algerian. Yeah. So basically, if you go somewhere else in the Western countries, if you go to the United States, something like you speak with the American guy, if you tell him like I'm from Algeria, for example, for me myself, like I went to the point where I say I'm North African, and North Africans basically a history, Berbers, the North Africans, and this is the sign. Maybe let me show you.
You Berber, yeah?
Yeah, I know
this one. Do you know it?
Yeah, I've designed it for
Amazir,
basically.
Because for me personally, I'm a Berber nationalist. For me, I would want to be.
Most of Africans are Berbers.
I would want to be in terms of Africa. Yeah, we're black, but I would want to be with my own people.
No,
exactly. But there are some different cultures in Africa as well.
Nationalism is not antithetical to a united Africa. A united Africa doesn't mean that the Yoruba has to live with the Maasai and interbreed. That's
in Nigeria, you have 255 ethnic groups.
Yeah.
But one, it's dysfunctional, and two, it was enforced. It was enforced by the Europeans. It wasn't. We didn't really have a choice.
So you want a Yoruba land then?
Yeah.
Ban everyone else, just Yoruba land.
Yeah, I'd want.
Forget the Fulanis. Forget the Igbos.
Well, that might.
They can have their own land.
Yeah, but that might even happen. Who is to say that?
So that's not nationalist. That's tribalist.
Tribalist.
No,
so, and tribalism. Sorry, but tribalism is one of the things I think meshed up Africa in the first place.
I somewhat agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, maybe not from a Nigerian perspective, but I say from a Ghanaian's perspective. Yeah, knowing how the Ashanti people went around Africa, trying to conquer the other tribes because of this.
Is this tied into the delusion of grandeur there? Then? That one tribe is actually better than the other.
Yeah.
So it's a delusion of grandeur.
It's not.
It might be based on evidence.
No, but it's not even me saying my culture is better than my tribe is better than your tribe. It's just having our own where we can.
Let me support you.
Beautiful, got many beautiful different cultures.
Let me support you.
And wouldn't that be better separated?
No.
Because the Germans have their own ethnic group. They have their own culture. Yeah. So there's no way to say that it might not happen because right now Nigeria is politically fragmented. You have the Biafra wanting to succeed. Then you got the Bokoran people. So there's nothing to say that might not happen. But anyway, even if you have your own Yoruba land, the fact of the matter is in Nigeria, you're not just one. The Yoruba are not Nigeria. Yeah,
I know that.
So you're not going to lose your identity. And when they do collectivize, and then you have two ethnic groups, like the ethnic.
But isn't the dysfunction? Okay, go on.
The ethnic are a marriage of the Igbo and the Igbo and the Bibio. That created another ethnic group. So. You don't lose because all you're doing is fusing two cultures together.
It's not about losing. I think Nigeria is dysfunctional partially because of the different cultures crushed together. I believe that if we have if the Yorubas have their own, if the Igbos have their own, if the Hausas have their own, I think it would be.
And how would the Yoruba compete with the European Union? How would the Yoruba compete with America? How would Yoruba compete with China? Because that's reality. That's economic reality.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is doing it. Basically, every age has its form.
But the European Union is going to crash.
It's still the second biggest market on earth, and it has extremely.
Is it doing better than Nigeria?
It's
what the European Union?
It's extremely power. Can I just finish?
Go on.
For example, there was a time when there's monarchies in Europe. Everyone had a monarchy.
No.
And then it was nation states.
Yeah.
And then that's I don't want to get into Brexit, but that's basically what England is doing. They're trying to go back in time in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? And what I'm saying is, when you're competing against blocks, because that's just how reality is. That's how they do business nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what Japan did. Japan came individually to the UK and they said, look, if you don't get us a deal, we're leaving. And then Theresa May, like off public, went to them and said, oh, we're going to give you a rebate, we're going to give you 80 billion, and we're going to cut the taxation. A promise, right? When then Japan realized, oh, this little country, I'm sorry, not me, but this country, on its own, it is a little country, on its own, can't decide whether we are going to be able to still sell our products to the biggest market, which is Europe. Do you know what they did? They went to Europe and they had a deal with them, and then Honda announced just 2 weeks ago that they're leaving the UK. And that's what you would have dealt with. That's the reality of having just a Yoruba land.
Also, Land Rover.
Yeah, or just having a Mutitila, like land of the Mutitilas.
Well,
so you have to kind of...
the Yoruba, you were not strong enough to sustain the European colonization because your empire fell.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's different world.
You know,
as a Europe,
romanticize the past, but you were not strong enough.
Right? But what we should say is, in any form of unity, at no point you should use your language, your culture, or any of your ways of life, right? But we recognize that the Yoruba man and the man from Congo have gone through a similar experience, and you've decided you're not in Yoruba land at the moment, are you?
No.
He's not in Congo, is he?
No.
Where you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a reality you're going to face it.
Yeah.
So if you walk around with those glasses, like Yoruba glasses and Congo glasses, you're not going to get too far. Yeah? There is a necessity for you guys to trade in your countries and here, and that's what we're trying to make a reality. And I don't get me wrong, I know people don't want anyone to lose their culture or their language, right? But if we start speaking this kind of division stuff, we're going to be falling. We're going to be falling.
I wasn't really talking about this country in general. I'm talking about Africa specifically. Like for me, I want the Yorubas to be Yorubas. I want the Somalis to be Somalis. I want everybody to be
themselves.
To be themselves.
Themselves. The group that they have, because they all have groups. No, are you engaging in the group that you have? Because what you find with a lot of the younger generation, they don't go to the meetings that the Yoruba will have, the Igbo will have. They all have their groups. So if you want to strengthen the Yoruba, do you engage in those groups? Because if you don't engage in the group, then that's where you'll feel left out. Because my mum goes to a BBO meeting every month. You know, I don't go every month, so I can't come and complain and say, oh, they left me out when I didn't attend the meeting. You know, so you have to, if you want your people to be strong, you must engage.
You want it to be strong,
though,
and then it, as in what you just said, in it, like you want it to be individually strong.
Yeah, but the individual identity shouldn't lead away from the society.
It's such a non-African concept as well.
Like,
it's not African at all.
I don't understand.
What's non-African about it?
Individual. It's nothing.
We are.
No one's saying
No. I know what you mean. But we've been individualistic for hundreds and thousands of years.
We've lived. Listen, in our country.
Any anthropologist will say to you, no, you're wrong. Based on the evidence.
They're a massive group. They're one of the biggest groups in Africa.
So what are we talking
There's
about?
no way
the
Yoruba are going to disappear off the face of African landscape.
You're talking about character traits. As a character trait, it's good to be, as an individual, to be strong. But we don't talk about that.
So you don't have to worry. It's all smaller groups that are only hitting 10 that have to worry. Some of us are only like 1 million. You know, I think your thing is unfounded because your group is massive in numbers. You know, Yoruba might end up being one of the official languages of the African Union because they have the numbers.
But even it's like this. Even if you wanted to just practice like a betterment amongst the Yoruba, I would support that, right? Yeah. Because I would see that that's what you should be doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you identify with them, they're close family, close cultural, and you build up, right? Yeah. And when you guys are ready, you go over and start trading. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's not even spoken, right? I'm not saying that you have to like straight away start having man from Ghana, man from Africa coming to the thing you're doing. Yeah. But I'm saying that when you're at the place, there's other Afro-Caribbean, African people ready to jump in to assist you. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's how it's
Look at the music of the Afro beats, the Nigerian beats. Whose language is being sung in Yoruba? They're the ones that are making the music. You know, so the Yoruba are really shaping. I think maybe it's because you're not engaging in your own community.
Well, in terms of Afro beats, I'm not a fan. I prefer more barista. But
but they're still engaging. of the people.
Free him up. He wants to know what the conversation is related to.
So we were talking about delusions of grandeur. So it started off like, is there some collectives where we don't necessarily progress because we have delusions of grandeur? And the example we're given was like, if I want to build and I say, you know what, we're not doing good collectively economically, and so what are you talking about? We were kings and queens, we're doing great. And that kind of like delusions of us once being kings and queens, quote unquote, will actually not necessarily motivate people to do anything today, something tangible. And that we were seeing different forms of delusion of grandeur. Some came out in the form of tribalism. So, you know, many things will come out. So we're just addressing, is it a problem to have delusions of grandeur? And then as the story has progressed and people have become tribalistic and so forth.
So what do you think, so when you say individualism, it's been like a thing for thousands of years. Are you talking about like isolated like character traits that a human had in history, or are you talking about a community?
I'm talking. When I said individualism in this context, I was talking about more of a community and more of a culture. We're not just you and me.
Yeah.
More like more individual culture.
Yeah.
Individual
Actually,
collective.
different languages also. Different languages.
Which is in and of itself a sort of an oxymoron.
It's not.
Collective individualism.
It is not.
I'm saying no. This because I had a conversation with someone about this. This does feed into the psyche of human beings. Yeah, we like to take pride. Yeah, in being individuals. Right. So like society says do this, so I'm gonna say it says yes to this, so I'm gonna say no.
Very new concept.
What ends up happening though is you get a whole bunch of people who are non-conformists, and that sets up a whole group.
Yes.
So where you were aiming to be individual, you've now formed a group of people who want to be individuals. Effectively, you're still a group.
Yeah.
So
don't put me in a box, and then the non-box is a new group.
It's a box in itself.
Yeah. I mean,
so I want to understand this. Why do people stick so much to the idea of, it almost seems as though we're okay on our own. I think that might be a delusion of grandeur as well.
It is.
That if we remove ourselves, then we'll be all good. It's your problem over there.
Also, we're in a group, as in a group though, as in like even Somalis, as in like I'm from Somaliland, and then I've got a problem with Somalia, and then what part of Somaliland am I from, and what tribe am I in? So automatically there's problems in.
See, I would say that is a delusion. That is a delusion of grandeur again.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
So this is what I'm saying. This delusion. Far be it from me to talk about Somali politics, yeah. But this divide of Somaliland and Somalia, yeah, and you're supposed to go back to one patriarch, yeah. That's another delusion of grandeur.
Yeah, I was just saying that as in like in a way where as we were just talking about, as in like like groups, as in like so like if I've got problems already in my house,
yeah.
How can I sort a situation out in regards to as in? Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Fair enough, but why? I get what you're saying, but why did you perceive? Yeah, why do you perceive that from us talking about unity, that means you have to abandon your immediate group and focus on somebody else's problems?
Yeah, I feel what you're saying.
That's not what people
and this
are asking to do.
This is a challenge we face, isn't it? Right? That we recognise that collectively that we're at the bottom of many areas, right? And we're trying to collectivise to come up, and yet we're talking about problems and stuff rather than we're at the bottom now, so what's the worst that can happen?
I think Ali wants to speak still.
As in like like you can't sort out the problems. If I can't sort out problems outside my house, if I've got problems in my yard. Do you get what I'm saying? If I've got problems in my home house, I'm gonna sort out situations out and
that's what we're saying.
Break that down to break that analogy down so we can understand it more. Break it down. Make it more less metaphor, more reality.
In regards to what?
So I don't want to guess you. Yeah. So
he's going to be practical. What is it? What are the issues in Somalia?
Is it Somali you're talking about?
So what are the issues?
Look, I'm asking what you're saying. So,
we're coming from your experience.
Yeah. So
well, let's make it make sense, yeah? Okay. Here's what it is, right? This brother's a Yoruba background, right? And Yoruba, as well as Congo, are all let's put it in a London perspective, right? They all could do better. So if the Yoruba community builds himself up, that's good. If the Somali community builds them up, and when you guys are up where you want to be, then the network starts happening. Yeah? Do you know what I mean? Or you network together, but you're building each other up. So you come to meetings, but you're going back to your thing. You might need a camera person. It just happens that the Yoruba have amazing camera people, as we've just been told. And so, of course, what I'm saying is, no one's telling you to lose your culture, to not work with your own people, right?
100%.
Yeah? But I'm saying there has to be a starting point. And I'm saying, black people come together as that starting point, right? Yeah, and not some conclusions.
No, 100%. Well, I was talking specifically about Africa, and even when I'm talking about Africa, of course, we can do deals and things like that within Africa. But I'm just talking about land and culture and tribes, tribes being one together.
So, that's what I was saying.
So when it comes down to this individualism, what are you asking for, like an autonomous Yoruba land, but only Yorubas rule over Yorubas? Do you have an issue of living side by side with other tribes?
I think a lot of the times living side by side with other tribes can cause confusion. So
not really confusion. Sorry, I was just gonna say. Go on. Sorry.
No, go on.
No.
I wanted to understand what confusion you elaborate on the confusion that you believe living side by side, because look, Ghana is not too far from Nigeria, and we have multiple tribes, multiple ethnicities, and I can say, looking over the recent history of Ghana since its independence.
But Ghana is Ghana, and Nigeria is Nigeria.
So I'm making a comparison now. That's what I'm asking to elaborate.
Okay.
Well, what is the issue? Because you're saying it causes confusion, and I'm showing you an example where it hasn't caused confusion. So I need you to elaborate.
Okay. Let's take Nigeria as an example. Nigeria is one of the most multicultural places on the planet. And it's dysfunctional. There's been a civil war for multiple reasons, because of things like religion, religious differences, cultural differences, and
could you demonstrate a cultural war that has happened in Nigeria recently? I know there's been a religious one, but a cultural one. Would you be able to?
No. It wasn't necessarily religious, but it was partially the reason. But there hasn't been a cultural war.
I think personally,
there is a strong separation between the tribes, where the Igbos are there, the Yorubas are there, the Hauses are there.
I would love to all of us.
Is that maybe
to give
sorry, could that be down to and I know Dawood doesn't like blaming other people, but could that possibly be down to colonialism?
I was about to say that.
It's of course it's down to colonialism, because for me, they should have just been separated to begin with.
Yeah. So
wait, no. Okay. So I'm Akan. Yeah. So Akan tribes are. From what I understand, they go back to, they are one ethnic group, one peoples, but they split up into clans, right? The British, and even till now, I still have this bias. When you talk about Ashanti, you talk about Fanti, there's something there. Because of colonialism, because of slavery, they've turned brothers against each other and said, you're better than him, and you're better than him. And before that, these people used to walk. They used to protect each other, and live amongst each other very well.
Also, sorry, brother. I was going to say one thing in regards to what we were talking about, in like Somalia, Somaliland, like Somalia got colonized by the Italians.
Yes.
Somaliland got colonized by the British. Yeah. So automatically now, the situations. Djibouti, next door neighbours, got colonized by the French.
Yes.
So then, there's already language barriers. You feel what I'm saying to you?
You must understand history. It's vital to understand history.
Do you get what I'm saying to you?
Sorry,
go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Jump in.
Forgive me.
No, go on, brother.
You can't. You know, when we talk about these issues, and this as well, we want to raise our levels consciously, but what we also have to raise is anyone who wants to speak here better know what he's talking about.
Exactly, man.
Because I don't like that stuff where you come up here, I'm trying to talk to you on a level, Because I've done the research and you're not. But you're just rebelling. You're just rebelling anyway. And I can tell you I haven't read.
Yeah.
That's bad. We have to change that. Our call now, you have to have qualifications, not as in.
But you have to be learned in your.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I know your stuff.
Let's talk about.
You have to show, brother. I was in my.
Sorry, I didn't mean any disrespect.
Let's go to the Middle East.
No hostility, brother.
No, he's one of us, man. No. Hey, listen, anyone who comes here, I love everyone.
I want to hear what you're
I would
saying.
never act hostile against a brother of mine.
the Middle East.
Just let me just land and then you can come back. The Middle East, best example of that, what he was saying. Look what happened to the Middle East. Less than, just 100 years ago, the Middle East, in particular, was a region that had tribes and autonomous, regions. That's it. That's all it was. Then the British came, the French came, and started drawing lines on the map. And they were literally drawing a beast, an uncontrollable beast, that they can't piece back together today. And that's exactly what happened to the rest of them.
I disagree. I think that they are piecing back together. The Kurds, they have their own nation in Rojava. I think that's.
For how long? For how long are they going to have?
Were you talking about Arabs? I think we were talking about Arabs, not Kurds, though.
But I know, in that region,
the Kurds weren't given their own state, but now they have.
Raven,
in Rojava in northern Iraq and northern Syria.
Yeah, they're in that region, you're right.
Yeah.
So
how long?
I think
they had their state before, you know that, right? But it got taken away again from them.
Wait, when did they have their state? I don't know. This is new to me.
Yeah. So it's again, it's unmanageable.
What the Kurds? You've got Kurdistan, isn't it?
I heard of.
You've got Kurdistan. They've got a flag and they've got a territory. But there are Kurds which are displaced in places like Turkey, in places like Iraq.
Yeah,
southern Turkey. Oh no, they have their own nation now. Rojava.
So you think?
So I think that even though it took, all these wars and a lot of bloodshed, I think that a lot of it is.
Yeah, we're going off topic though.
Yeah, no, we're talking about how British and French sides
But you mentioned one group.
Yeah,
you mentioned one group
let's establish
amongst so million other groups in the Middle East. Okay, and it's
to my knowledge, there's the Kurds, there's a small group of Assyrians. To my knowledge, the
what's the point? The fundamental point, because the point I'm making is that the artificial divide that was created in the Middle East is causing us problems today, and it's equally causing us problems in Africa and other African countries.
What the guy was identifying is that, right? As in, Nigeria was made by Europe, and then obviously there was some political differences and tensions there before, but it was heavily magnified when that line came in, and they all had to go under one banner, one government.
Look at the backstop, Irish. They're having issues now because of a line.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing.
I think that has more to do with things like the potato famine where they're exporting food and they starved about a million Irish.
The Irish border. Is it not causing a problem right now?
Actually, no, it's fine now. Yeah, there's a bit.
Yeah, it's not fine.
No, it's fine. I haven't heard
it's never like.
The last bombing was in 95.
I'm not talking about that.
95 was yesterday, mate. That's not. That's recent history.
It was 23 years ago.
That's our lifetime. That's not World War.
One time, family.
Politically, the backstop with Brexit right now, is it not causing issues?
Yeah, issues.
It's a border that was artificially drawn, was it not?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, that's the whole point that we're making.
It's not about that.
To my knowledge, it seems to be a lot more.
Donald Trump and shit.
That was a metaphor. So it was more like a metaphor.
It's more of an example. Let's
go back to Africa. No, but we need examples sometimes.
I was just saying that you cannot ignore the colonial impact here on Africa.
Of course.
Yeah, these people. It's not like when the British drew the lines around them, they compacted them and forced them to live next door. These people already live next door to each other, right? And they weren't killing each other en masse and enslaving. I'm not saying it never happened. Yeah, there would be tribal warfare and stuff.
No, of course it happened.
But these people, they live next to each other and they coexisted. So. Personally, bro, if I'm real with you, I don't want to live in Africa with one culture. I don't want to interact with just one culture.
No, I don't think
I have my culture, and I would love to learn other African cultures as well. And I think that makes the continent
so beautiful.
And I'm fine with that. But in terms of this one Africa, I would want to establish a Yoruba. I would want to establish.
Maybe I get the vibe that you're thinking of when we say one Africa, we're talking about like one central government. That
you talk about like.
We're talking about
that. What are you saying? Just one Africa.
No, we're not talking about one central like. African Union Parliament. That's not what we're talking about. Those things that are there. You have an African Union where the representatives come and sit together, and just like you have an EU and you have an Arab League.
Is that what would that be? What we're talking about?
So there's many things that's going on, right? But let me articulate what my angle is, and let's see if it coincides with angle, right? Yeah. All this stuff sounds fantastic, but one of the most primal, tangible things I want is a collectivified, codified way of thinking, right? Yeah? Because if we acknowledge that people of African descent, for whatever reasons, find themselves in hard situations, there needs to be a code that unifies to fix that. So within the psychological DNA, it's a rebuild yourself concept that we've lost. So it's like, we're going through hardship, let's practice something. I'm calling Black Batman building, and that means black people helping black people, black issues. Yeah. Now that might manifest in the form of like one government. I don't know how it works. That might manifest in some kind of trading law. Who knows, right? But I'm saying as a default in our memory banks, if we think this way, we will see improvement. If we don't think this way, we will not see improvement. That's what I'm saying.
Also, can I say something? You know what I and I do, like, this is me personally. Like when I've worked at a few places, and I've seen Somali women working in a company, and like another guy is telling them like what to do, kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like someone who's not black. Like I would like someone who's not telling them what to do. I don't know if everyone's felt this kind of way, where like a sister's being told what to do from someone who's
out of the community.
Do you get what I'm saying to you? And I'm thinking like, yo, this should be a brother. We should have this is me. I was like, yo, I wish someone who had, as a black person, we had our own recruitment company who'd be telling them and bringing them to other. Do you get what I'm saying to you? That's me personally, though.
So I mean, this might correlate with what you're saying. So historically, like when
and that's why it gets me kind of pissed off.
In Hollywood, you could never actually have a visual of a black person striking a European.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
And they could never play the hero.
Night of the Living Dead.
Huh?
Night of the Living Dead, the zombie film. The black dude kicks
the crap
out. I don't watch that.
So no, what I'm talking about is historically. So
we're talking about historically.
Yeah, we're not talking about today, or the 80s. So what was, anyway. And there was one of the first films where a black person struck a white person was I could be wrong. I think They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. I could be wrong. Yeah, and it's down as the first.
Backlash.
What did you say when it hit him? What did you say when it hit him?
What They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, right? I forgot what it is, but that's the one, right?
You get what I'm saying to you?
But what I'm saying is, so this concept of seeing black people in power.
Do you get what I'm saying to you? Yeah, exactly. Like I just don't like it when like I was in like other sisters, even like it's just like black people as in communities, like we're not in a place where there's someone who's in as in a managerial kind of
this is a universal concept,
do you get what I'm saying?
So we're subservient.
But there's always someone who's telling man what to do and shit.
But is that
Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No.
Both of you man talking. I can't hear you guys.
No. Sorry. But is that because black people think more like employees instead of actual bosses?
Do you feel like that? Because I don't.
I think a lot of people like that.
I don't feel like that. I think a lot of people like that. I got my own business. No. I'm not talking about you specifically.
I'm talking. Speak, then we'll jump.
No. I've not heard such a funny and inaccurate statement.
Exactly.
In a long time.
I don't even like how you talk like that.
A lot of black people that I know and grew up with, are not employed because they don't want to be employees.
Exactly.
Right.
They run away from that.
fucking.
In fact, they believe it's slave-like. I said a few weeks ago, I personally have no qualms being a foot soldier and following commands, right? But a lot of black people, if not most, I would say that are raised here, like I'm talking about my generation
Boss mentality.
Yes, everyone has to run their own thing. I'm saying. So it's not a thing. It's not. So wait. Go on. It's not a thing of black people thinking like employees is the reason why there's not black people in positions. How about when black people actually do go for places of position, they're overlooked for someone of a whiter or lighter complexion or
business here, bro. Cheers for you. Business, we got our own bespoke furniture business.
And that's great for you, bro. That's great
building.
That's great for you, brother.
No, it's not great for me. Because it should be great for all of us. Because that's what we all should be doing.
Exactly.
And going to.
Can I?
It's not great for me. It's great for all of us.
Yeah,
absolutely. We all should be contributing and helping each other. I should be. Forever.
Yeah. But when I say something like that, I'm looking at what is the so-called black person doing. I'm not talking specifically about you. Bro.
Yeah, he's talking in general.
I'm talking in general. If they think like bosses, what are they doing to get to that role as a boss? Because
if you're a boss, you're self-employed. You do things off your own back. You don't work towards something to make you a boss.
But a lot of so-called black people aren't self-employed; they're unemployed.
No, there are a lot of people that are self-employed. It just so happens that their area of business is illegal. So it's not about.
Well, there's nuances.
I'll just be real, bro. Right. A lot of people are.
Let's unpack the community as a why, right? So what we're saying is, basically, ultimately, what would be fantastic for a community if you had a lot of people who have their very own businesses, right?
Yeah.
But in order to get there, you have to actually study under someone else to understand the craft.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong
so
with that.
what you're saying is sometimes people might not want to study under to learn that, and that's why we're not seeing those businesses grow. Right?
Yeah, you always have to study under somebody else to get to. So
that's
you
why
can,
the drug game kind of.
So you can build up your
entrepreneurial also too at a young age, which is like the only thing is that they do it in a different kind of
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
You had a strong objection to that idea.
Oh, sorry, which one?
Oh, you should know.
Someone.
Which one?
Like you mentioned.
So many.
Something I found quite strange is you're talking about there are a lot of men out there who are unemployed, or they are employed, but what their business is illegal.
There's a lot of people that are bosses,
exactly.
but their employment and their area of financing themselves is illegal. Yes.
All right. Is that what? That's bad, right? I mean,
okay, listen. I'm not gonna look. I don't, and I'm a Muslim, so I'm against drugs. Yeah, but what I'm not gonna stand here and do is say if it's illegal, it's bad. Nah, forget that. Illegality, does not equate to morality.
Of course. But brother, poisoning your own community is bad.
And the kind of image that sets for other people of color, like that's.
But look what's happening
the thing is,
in
look,
California.
I'm not even going into it. Like I said, that's not me. What I was talking about is the fact that people, or a lot of black kids, they're doing this because it shows you that there's a desire for them to be well off, right? And it shows you as well that they have the ability, to do financial work.
Yeah.
Wait,
go. No.
Right.
Finish.
These kids, have the skills to be business owners. Right, the trajectory of their thought is in the wrong direction,
absolutely.
and it needs to be stirred right. Now the reason why the trajectory is in the wrong place is because of a lack of mentorship.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. A lack of mentorship. I speak, and it's not even because some people say, "Oh, it's single parent homes." It's not single parent homes.
Of course, it's single parent homes.
It's not single parent homes. No, stop.
The problem. It's
not single parent homes because I came from a 2-parent home. Now, none of my parents ever taught me to be an innovator or to come up with some business plan that would break me out of the chains of working under each other. Rather, what they did is encourage me to do that. Go to school, go to primary school, go to secondary school, go to college, go uni, rack up all this debt, then become employed under someone as an accountant or a doctor, and that was the height of achievement for them, working for someone else. There was nothing about bettering my people or raising self-esteem, and they used to scoff at other people who didn't have opportunities, and the fact that they had to do. Sometimes they had to. A lot of people are doing the thing they need to do because of necessity. Exactly. Right? So don't tell me it's about single home, because that thing is a myth, in fact. that black people are that they're all missing they're all missing fathers. No, I get
no, brother. Let's have a dialogue. A lot of problems always starts in the home. If there's no masculine energy or feminine energy in the household, of course that's going to affect the child. He's going to look for that energy somewhere else. That could be on the streets. Hence leading him to a drug.
I hear that. I think that's a fallacy. I think that's a fallacy.
No, it's not. Because you're talking from personal experience, but your experience isn't an equation to everybody else.
No. But what are you speaking for? Are you speaking from some empirical evidence?
Yeah.
Are you speaking for something empirical?
I'm looking at the unemployment. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that.
What? Huh? No, I'm saying no. All these empirical, these surveys, yeah, they're not empirical. What you're going is based off other people's guesswork. You have not done or done any footwork to actually establish whether these figures are correct or not.
Issa,
so
do you not think that there might be a problem with the black family in Britain?
No, I don't think there's a
single-parent households. Do you think that might be a little bit?
No, because I'm telling you, I grew up with a father and a mother. Okay. Yes, I know some people don't. I know some people that have a father in the house.
There's a few that don't.
I know. No, listen to what I'm saying to you. You lot are saying that the single-parent household is the direct reason for these kids being like that. Now, I'm telling you, I grew up with a youth, yeah, who only had his mum around, yeah, and he didn't go outside looking for some masculine energy and found some gangster and just started selling drugs. That's nonsense. The guy works for Goldman Sachs now. He worked his way through school, yeah. He put his head down because he was taught ethics in the home. Now he decided, yeah, that he was gonna go with what he was taught at home, yeah. This is what I'm saying, bro. I've got three other siblings, yeah. As a young kid, right? My parents, both of them, yeah, instilled the fear of God in me, yeah. But that did not stop me going outside and bullying people and taking people's money, yeah, and threatening them physically. That was my choice. So people saying, "Oh, it's the parents' fault," sometimes it can be, but I'm saying it's a very easy, you know, it's scapegoat in the parents. It's in the home. It's in the home. Sometimes parents don't even know what their children are getting up to. They come home with one face and they go out with another. So I'm not gonna really hear. Sorry, but I need a study and a link to show that it is single-parent households which are the reason why these kids are going out and selling drugs and killing each other.
I'm not saying.
And bear in mind as well, the black family is not the only one faced with the epidemic of single-parent homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I disagree.
Very good point there.
Yeah. I was wondering where you went, but you're bringing up specific. This guy. I'm not saying people, kids from single-parent households. Like I come from a single-parent household. I'm not out here selling drugs or robbing anybody. But the issue is, and there are many kids who grew up with a father and a mother in the household. But I'm saying that it is much better. It is a much better experience for a child to grow up with a masculine and feminine energy both in the household.
I think we can all agree on that. Yeah. That's definitely something we can agree on that. There's a value in having a mother and father in your house.
Unless there's toxic masculinity,
well,
that can be an issue as well.
There's no such thing as toxic masculinity.
There is toxic. If your father flings your mum all over the house and beats her, that's an issue. That's toxic masculinity I'm talking about.
There's a universal family principle, right? So on a collective level, there is a value in having a father and a mother. There's a value in those two not fighting each other. There's a value in them trying to give you goals. I'm saying you can go to any point and interrupt and go, yeah, what if you've got a mum and a dad, but they beat you up? Well, that's bad. Because I've got one mum, but she never beat me up. So I'm saying is there has to be universal step-by-step principles. I agree.
Of course, I'm not saying if you have a mother. Hold on. If I'm not saying
the duck still, man. But continue the conversation.
Nah, brother. It was nice talking to you, bro.
We're gonna wrap up soon, but that's good. You know, go on that side because you're finish because you make very good points.
I can't lie, I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's his technique. That's the technique. No, but so let me tie into what we're saying, right? I agree with what you're saying. You definitely need a male and female, right? Yeah. But it has to be constructive every single step of the way. Yeah. And I think what the brother was trying to say was like, you can have a parents, whatever, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to have a business.
Of course.
If they're not going to instruct that in you, like, you know,
of course,
here's
100%. 100%. You can have a deadbeat mother and a deadbeat father, both in the household.
Yes.
I'm not saying that, but it is statistically better if you have both parents in the house.
I agree with this.
In the household.
As long as that's, I think what brother was saying is, you know, more so to have them both instructed.
I'm not saying if you have both parents that you're set. But it will be a lot better if you have both the feminine and masculine energy in the household. Because when you have a single parent, when you live in a single parent household, where you only have your mother, sometimes your father, but mainly your mother in the household, you're going to have to look for that masculine energy elsewhere, which will be from other people on the streets. So that's why I always preach that the issue has to be solved in the home first before you go outside.
Yes, but I think remember that from a community standpoint, if we are not unified in how we collectively speak, right? That the mother and the father are tender children. That, you know, you're from a people group that have a very particular experience, and if we collectively don't try to change it, it will always remain that way. Because no one else is invested in changing our African, Black, Caribbean community outside of us.
Can I just show you some bit of information? We were talking about the Black family. It's 48% of Black Caribbean families are single-parent households. 36% of African households are also single parents. Then when we compare it to other ethnic groups, take the white. 22% of white households are single parents, and the lowest is the Indians, 10%. Now, when we look at the personal, income rate, you know what I mean? Indians are at the top, whites at the middle.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you saw. I think there's definitely a connection there between the construction of the Black family and income inequality.
So the brother showed a diagram where basically Black people are almost second to last in the UK when it comes to economic growth.
And then when we look at the Nigerian households, you get a completely different. Nigerian Brits are like doing incredibly well in this country, like the third highest earning ethnic group.
Well, that's good.
It shows that that's the point I'm trying to make.
The fact that you said something is good.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess what we're trying to say is, on a collective level, we want to be inspired by that and make sure that there is a purpose of why Black people come together. Because just by that data alone, it shows that it's a necessity, right? But there has to be a philosophy that makes it make sense.
Yeah.
Just by speaking it, speaking it is part of the building.
Absolutely. I think when we look at, mainly in African American households, the Black family in the 1950s was stronger than the white family.
Yes.
It was also said that Black Americans are more financially competent than white Americans. Now, this is something that white people admitted to themselves. This is before Lyndon Johnson's and his war on poverty, which stopped people from vesting up to them like financial and moral responsibilities, which has destroyed the Black family. The single parenthood rate in America is 75%. It's getting crazy over there.
It is. But one thing we have to highlight, which is very important, with the African American community back then and the Afro-Caribbean community here back then, is they came over and they were much more unified in the family. It was a nuclear family. They wore good clothes. They had morals and so forth.
I think, are we going to pretend as if the problems aren't similar or parallel?
Oh, they're similar. But what I'm saying is, we have to look at the history of what those communities went through, and this is the outcome of it. And because we're aware of it, we have to try to fix it.
Because it's affecting white people as well. I'm not but their family is also being destroyed.
Well, they've got a better.
They're blaming feminism. I disagree.
Yeah, but they've got a system in play that can support them better than they can support us. So what I'm saying, if we don't come together to fix it, it won't get fixed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So if that's it, we can call our corner over. But brother.
Yeah,
there's some good things there, bro.
Yeah, so it's nice talking to you, bro.
You said some good things, definitely. Remember, every week we do Our Corner. You guys, please come along. If you've got any kind of topic you want to tackle, bring it along. But every week Our Corner talk about Black African Caribbean issues.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you very much. Hey, there you go. Right, sorry, just missed it, brother. Yeah, just done. Sorry, fam.
No, sorry. I read some things from a scholar from the Rock. He came down to the Mali Empire. Ahmed Ali said he was a debate.
Come take over everything from your
belly. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Firstly, I think there's a mischaracterization of what actually is going on. But it is also actually irrelevant to whether you can believe the gospel.
That'd be an interesting conversation to have in the future.
Let me ask you this question, right? Yeah. Okay. So the first Christians believed what? What did they believe?
I think basically the teachings of Jesus.
Right. And they believed that. It wasn't that the very first Christians didn't have someone to tell them, did they?